Fast fat loss. 5 simple steps. So if you're driving or working out, consider just listening and taking it in. I'm going to share with you the best things I can to have fast fat loss. Also, I'm going to give you 5 simple steps. But if you do have access to pen and paper, you may want to grab them. I'm going to ask you to write down some things that you might want to internalize and lock it in deep inside your soul and achieve your goals, right? So first thing for fast fat loss, I feel is real important is to have clear, specific goals. So we're going to do a little goal setting exercise right now. So if you could wave a realistic magic wand, and you can have your body, your health, your energy, any kind of way you wanted it to be over, say, the next year or so, what would that be like for you? Think about it. Dream about it. Get clear and specific. Have fun. Go at it with a child's like enthusiasm. So visualize your goal. Now I encourage you to consider breaking it down into a specific body weight and a specific body fat percent. That's very clear and specific. So if you're taking notes, it's a good time to write down your notes. So if you could have it any kind of way you wanted, your body, your health, your energy, what would it be like for you? And if you can narrow it down to a specific body weight and a specific body fat percent, right? Now that's your goal, right? Your body weight and your body fat percent. And we're going to use that here in a minute. I'll use myself as an example. My goal is that I'm currently 183 pounds, 10% body fat. My goal is to be 190 pounds and at or below 10% body fat. Now, I'm going to share with you my affirmation / prayer because I want you to consider it. Here it goes. I am happy and grateful now that I am, and then state your goal. Now, I'll use myself as an example. I am happy and grateful now that I am at least 190 pounds and at or below 10% body fat. That's very clear. That's very clear and specific. Does that make sense? So that's the first. That's not even the first step. That's the overall very, very beginning. Like your title of your essay is your goal, right? I want you to get clear and specific before you go on anything else on this journey. I consider narrowing that goal down to very clear and specific goals. Specifically, like a body weight and a body fat percent, right? Now, once you have your goal weight, your body fat percent weight, right? Now what we're going to do is let's talk about the 5 simple steps. So it's going to be exercising, nutrition, recovery, supplementation, and mindset. Now, let's look at exercise for a moment. I encourage you to consider having a combination of strength training exercising and cardiovascular exercising. Imagine for a moment that we have a twin engine airplane and we're flying along, and one engine is cardiovascular, one engine is strength. And then we're flying along in that plane, and we want to have both engines going strong, cardiovascular and strength combination. We don't want just one engine working on the airplane. We want both. So I want you to consider having both strength training and cardiovascular training in your routine. When it comes to building a training program, consider these 5 fundamentals: proper form, variety, intensity, proper training principles, and consistency. Proper form. Why would it be important to have proper form? Now, I don't know if you think about it, kind of logical, right? There's 2 big reasons. One is so that we don't get hurt, and 2 is so that we exercise the muscle effectively. Have to do both cardio and strength. but hard to have both at high level. Well, thanks for the input. Do I call you just the British short hair? Or do you have a first name? But thank you for the input. Yeah, that can be challenging. I don't know how a lot of other people address it. What I like to do is I like to do my cardiovascular. I like to split it up, but it's not necessary. But I'll do cardio in the morning, strength training in the afternoon. That way I can kind of give both a good effort. Gains. That's right. Good. Yeah, well, good. Well, there's anything I can do to help. Sounds like you have I do 150 easy cardio. What do you mean 150? 150. Oh, minutes a week. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Nice. And so gains, are you working on building? Are you working on building muscle? And if so, what are your, do you have a goal in mind or? Nice. Thank you for sharing. So when it comes to building out a training program, generally I feel like there's basically 5 things to consider: proper form, variety, intensity, proper training principles, and consistency. That's my cat channel. Oh, is this Jay? Hey, Jay. All right. Yeah. I should have known that. I didn't realize it. Okay. Jay's in the house on the cat channel. Nice. Welcome, Jay. So we talked about proper form. Now let's look at variety. Why would variety be important? Think about that. Why change it up every now and then? Well, there's basically 2 big reasons to consider having variety into your program. The 2 big reasons to have variety is, one is so that we don't reach a plateau, get stuck. And then another reason is so that we mentally don't get bored. So Jay and I, we talked about that a lot. We're changing our routines around every 4 to 6 weeks. We're incorporating meso cycles. There's all kind of variety into the routine. And that's really key. So consider that variety, or else you may run into a plateau where you get stuck and you can't get to the next level, or mentally you may feel bored with the routine, right? Swiss bar incline pressing. Yeah, nice. Okay. I don't have access to the Swiss bar yet, but that it looks like I could see how that would be a nice one. Very nice. I'm gonna see. I have another gym that I go to in town called Choose. I'm going to have to see if they have a Swiss bar. All right, so we talked about form, proper form, variety, right? And then let's look at intensity. What comes to mind when you think about exercising with intensity? What comes to mind? Well, challenging yourself, pushing yourself, right? That's what I think about. Overloading the muscle, right? So imagine for a moment, let's say, for example, say if we have a chest press, and imagine, say we're going for 12 repetitions, and we're going along, going for 12 repetitions, 10, 11, and we barely get number 12, but we got number 12. What's the most beneficial part of that set? The first few reps or the last few reps? Well, it'd be the last few, right? That's where the overload occurs. That's where the challenge occurs. So be sure to include intensity into your training program where you're overloading the muscle. So that's where you're breaking it down. And both Jay and I know this and practice this, but how does the cycle of the muscle growth occur? We work out, we're breaking the muscle down. It's through the rest and recovery and the nutrition that it grows back bigger. So that's all we're doing, is breaking it down and it's growing back. We're breaking it down and it's growing back. That's just the nature of this fitness cycle. We're breaking it down and it's growing back. So consider intensity, really challenging yourself into workout, pushing yourself, overloading the muscle, right? So proper form, variety, intensity. Now let's look at different proper training principles. There are several proper training principles to consider in a weightlifting program, like compound sets, drop sets, supersets, circuit training, rest pause training, up and down the racks. There's a lot of different training principles to incorporate, and we can sprinkle them in our training routines. But consider incorporating different training principles throughout the routine and over time, right? And then the last few reps. That's right. The last few reps are the best few. That's the overload. So we talked about proper form, variety, intensity, proper training principles, and then last but not least is consistency. Now, what comes to mind when you think about the power of consistency with a strength training program? It's pretty common sense, right? Pretty obvious, right? We want to be consistent. Imagine for a moment that we're going for a competition, and we have you and say a twin of you. And imagine we start off, you work out 4 days a week, combination of strength training and cardiovascular training. And then, and you eat 90% healthy, you sleep 90% at least the best you can, and you're consistent with that. But along the other person starts off and misses a workout here and there, and skips a meal here and there, and doesn't always get the full amount of sleep here and there. At the end of the year, who is going to have the best results? The consistent person is. So the power of consistency in a program, that's to consider, the power of consistency, right? So we just talked about the 5 fundamentals of a good training program: proper form, variety, intensity, proper training principles, and consistency. Now let's look at nutrition. Imagine for a moment that we want to build a 2-story house from scratch and a beautiful home. And imagine that we only have half of the materials necessary to build the home. How far are we going to get? Part of the way, right? Halfway, part of the way. So the foods that you and I eat on a daily basis, the foods that we all eat on a regular basis, they are the supplies that go towards building our bodies. So what do I recommend to consider? I recommend a whole food, plant-based diet, about 50% of fruit and vegetables, 25% whole grains, and 25% plant-based proteins like legumes, lentils, nuts, and seeds. And then if you want to dig a little deeper and learn some more on it, which is I totally recommend to learn as much as you can about it, there's a documentary on Netflix and YouTube called The Game Changers. The Game Changers. And I recommend to consider it. Was a fighter, an MMA fighter who got injured and did a deep dive into nutrition and found out the power of a whole food plant-based diet. And it shows the science and a lot of good stuff behind it. Good job. Let's see here. We have adjusted the clock here. No, yes, I know. Oh, okay. I'll be done soon too. I know. So now it's so now is it 12 o'clock there a.m. or 1 o'clock a.m. Jay? Is it 12 or 1? All right. Now let's go a little bit further. It's 11:10. Okay. I didn't know which way it went. So okay, so it is 2 o'clock p.m. where I'm at, Pacific Standard Time. Used to be 10:10. I know it's getting late. You have to go to sleep so you can grow your muscles. So I appreciate you here, Jay. You can go to sleep whenever you're ready, brother. Have a great night's sleep. I appreciate you being here and being a part of the channel and commenting and interacting. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you too, your vegan efforts and your other channels. I wish you the best with all you're doing and wish you to have a blessed night and a blessed weekend. All right. So I feel like there are basically 4 different ways in which food affects, thank you, Jay, food affects our bodies. Metabolism, energy levels, blood sugar levels, and insulin levels. So let's take a look at that. Imagine for a moment that we have a fireplace, and on one hand we have a stack of oak wood. On the other hand, we have a stack of paper. Now, not including kindling and getting the fire started, but if we had to choose between the oak wood or the paper to burn in your fireplace, which one would we pick and why? Well, most of us will pick the oak wood. And why? Because it's going to burn longer, slower. It's thicker, right? Paper is just fast, right? So yes, the oak wood. Now, some foods burn more like the oak wood, and some foods burn more like the paper. So which ones do which? Whole food, plant-based foods like fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes, lentils, nuts, and seeds burn slow like the oak wood. So I encourage you to have slow burning oak wood foods in your diet for best results. Let's look at recovery. Over the last few years, I've had the honor of training 3 different neurologists, and one is a neuroradiologist. And they know a lot about brain health and sleep studies. And I've done a lot of studies, just studying other people, other professionals, and what results they're having. And I've narrowed it down to what I recommend to myself and my friends and my clients is 7.5 to 9 hours sleep a night, 2 hours of REM, and 2 hours of deep. That's the standard where I'm at right now. So you can see what works best for you. But 7.5 to 9 hours sleep a night, 2 hours of REM, 2 hours of deep. How can you achieve this? One is select predetermined go to sleep and wake up times. I go to sleep at the same time almost every day, and I wake up at the same time almost every day. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is stop eating about 2 hours before bedtime. What this does, it's not just a fat loss issue. It's more of a, when we eat, our body temperature rises. And when you give your body a break from eating, it cools. So if you stop eating 2 hours before bedtime, you're going to give your body a chance to cool down before bedtime. And that's perfect. You want to cool down, kind of get to like a hibernation kind of mode, right? So doing that, then limiting screen time, like TVs, computers, phones, laptops, 1 to 2 hours before bedtime, and then making the room nice and cool and nice and dark is another thing you can do. And if you can't make it dark, wear the eye coverings, right? Find a comfortable one that feels good and cozy, right? And then every night have that appointment with yourself and make it a joy and make it a positive experience. But that recovery is probably the number one thing we can all do to have the most benefit on our health is sleep. So I encourage you to consider optimizing your sleep and getting the most out of your sleep. So we've just addressed goal setting. We've addressed the 5 simple steps: training, nutrition, recovery. We just talked about that. Let's do a little dive into supplementation. I feel there are basically 2 basic types of supplementation: nutritional supplementation and enhancement performance supplementation. An example of a nutritional supplementation is like a meal replacement shake. I probably have 2 a day, and I have for 40 years, and I love it and feel good about it, on top of a whole food plant-based diet. But then there are also So that's nutritional supplementation. And then enhancement performance supplementation is like creatine, for an example. It's a proven supplement. It helps to build strength. If you're interested in taking an enhancement strength supplement, creatine is one to consider. But the idea here is that we're just categorizing what is a nutritional supplement, what is an enhancement performance supplement. So it's basically two different categories. Just be aware of each and understand that the basics, the fundamentals are exercise, nutrition, recovery, then supplementation. There's lots of money that can be wasted on supplementation. So consider being very clear and goal focused about what it is you want to get from your supplementation so you're making the right investment for yourself. So last but not least is the mindset. Now imagine for a moment that we're building a big skyscraper and we have these big working machines, big crane, and it's got the box in the front of the crane, right? The person in it that controls the levers. Your mindset is like the box. Your body is like the crane. Your mindset is pulling the levers on whatever you do in your fitness realm, whether you work out or don't work out, or eat right or don't eat right. So consider harnessing the power of your mindset to get you to implement the right activities that's going to get you the right results. So what is that going to get you the right results? Having a clear, specific goal, then backing it up with the fundamentals of training, nutrition, recovery, supplementation, mindset. Have that clear, specific goal, then back it up with the affirmation, I am happy and grateful now that I am, state your body weight and your body fat percent. Now, as you go on your fitness journey, you're going to encounter resistance. So imagine that you're in the ocean and you know how the tide can carry you down. But imagine you're swimming against the tide. And that's exactly what it feels like sometimes when achieving fitness goals is you're swimming against the tide. But when you're daily being consistent with your habits, you're visualizing your goal, you're saying your affirmation daily, you're exercising regularly, you're eating healthy, you're getting your rest, you're supplementing intelligently, you're working on your mindset, you're daily cutting through that resistance. You're making progress on that resistance. But it's that daily consistency that's going to get you there over the long term. All right. My goal here is to come at you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In one way or another, I encourage you to take action. Take action for yourself, but you don't have to do it by yourself. You can join me here every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday for this. But then also, too, there's different ways to get help. There's personal training. There's virtual training. There's group training. There's lots of, and each person I feel is better off depending on your individual goals. But if you feel like you're just not getting results on your own, reach out to your local personal trainer. If you feel like you would do well in a virtual training situation where I could set your program, hold you accountable to your goals, you could follow along like that. If you're interested in something like that, message me the word FIT, F-I-T, to 520-400-9573, and we'll do a complimentary consultation. Excuse me. All right, well, that's it. Be blessed. And remember that our health is wealth. So no matter what, it doesn't matter what earthly possessions we have, that our health, excuse me, that our health, Our health is our wealth. So no matter what earthly possessions we have, our health. So I encourage you to consider your health, have a clear, specific goal, back it up with proper training, nutrition, recovery, supplementation, and mindset. And then if you want some help, reach out to me for help. Message me the word FIT. We'll do a complimentary consultation. Be blessed, and I'll be back, God willing, on Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be blessed, and bye for now.